Hey dudes, it's Lerald, and the big reveal for PoE 2 patch 0.2.0 is only like a day or so away, so we thought it would be fun to make some predictions as to what changes and additions to the game will be in the patch. We've done this with previous PoE 1 patches, and I've always really enjoyed making a bunch of predictions and then checking back in and seeing how much I got wrong. Now, obviously, I don't know, I can't see the future, I'm just making educated guesses. I think they're educated, I'm educated, I got an education, so any guess I make must be educated, right? So this is like a 50-50 split of what I actually think will be in the patch, pretty sure, and then just pure uncut copium. We will do some actual serious analysis of the patch once we know more about it, but for now this is just like a bit of fun while we're waiting. So I've got a bingo board here, I got a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to throw on it, and it's customary with a bingo board to start right in the middle because that's kind of the free square, the thing that we know is going to be in the patch. And Huntress, there's no question this is going to be in the patch, right? This was in the trailer, this was front and center, she has a voice, we got to hear a bit of her voice lines or accent and kind of see her, she's got a pixie cut, right? Blonde pixie cut. So like, yeah, that's the whole deal. She's jumping around with a spear. That's going to be a lot of fun. That is definitely, there's almost no way that that's not going to be my first character of the league unless there's some horrible catastrophe that happens. That's what I'm going to be league starting, right? So then, you know, like just going, I mean, the rest of them, it doesn't really matter, but I think the next thing, the thing that a lot of people expect, the thing that I certainly expect with it being named Dawn of the Hunt is that Druid is also going to be in there. I did spend a lot of time looking around in the back corners of the trailer and like a lot of the teaser images and stuff, and I never saw him lingering in there, but you know, maybe. Maybe the Druid will be in there. There's like a guy in the background of some of the images, so maybe that's the Druid. Don't really know. I think Act 4 is another thing that a lot of people, including myself, expect to be in. You know, there's no guarantee, right? But there were definitely some locations and kind of some, just like some backgrounds and stuff in some of the teaser images, again, that just kind of looked like unfamiliar. And what could that be? Probably Act 4. I think there's a general expectation that they're going to eventually roll out all of the acts for us to play in early access before pushing them out into the 1.0 release, right? And I don't think they're going to like sit on all the acts until 1.0. So it would make sense that it would drop now, considering it's taken them 3.5-4 months between 0.1.0 and 0.2.0, that Act 4 would be here as well. All right, so my next couple of guesses here are, I think, several different like balance nerf buff, whatever. I think Spark is going to get nerfed, and we're writing that in all caps. I think Spark is going to get nerfed in some way. It might be that Spark gets nerfed. It might be that Archmage gets nerfed. They might do the classic GGG triple tap where they like make the cast time of Spark slower, make its duration shorter, make it deal less damage, make it cost less mana, make Archmage weaker, you know, a whole bunch of nerfs across the board. Like they might really go to town on it. Or it might be a little weaker, you know, you never know. But I think Spark really seems to be, not that Archmage isn't also very strong, but Spark definitely seems like it's the biggest defender on the current state of like Spark, Stormweaver, Archmage setups. So I think that kind of looks like the one that's going to probably bear the brunt. I think Lightning Arrow and Lightning Rod, especially after having just leveled a lot of characters in the last couple of weeks here. I leveled a crossbow character. That's gonna be next on the list here. I leveled a crossbow character, mostly using like Galvanic Shard, and I think it's called like Storm Blast bolts or Spark Blast, you know, some sort of lightning bolt thing. And I thought it was really fun. And then I played a Lightning Arrow, Lightning Rod, Deadeye immediately after that, and I was like, oh wow, I was enjoying straight hot garbage compared to this. I didn't realize. And so I think Lightning Arrow and Lightning Rod, they're such a powerful combo and like pretty fun, but so insanely dominant that I think they've got to be nerfed in order to make room for other specs to breathe, and that is where I would put in crossbow buffs as well. I think crossbows, playing around with them, I think running around and blasting stuff with galvanic shards, it kind of feels like I'm playing like an FPS and like just like a single player FPS, not that they make those anymore, but you're just like running around with a shotgun, just blasting guys like the whole way through the campaign. Felt pretty fun. Not necessarily strong, though. So I think there's something there that's like kind of fun and interesting. I did try playing around with grenades a lot as well. I really played with all of the crossbow skills. I didn't like most of them. Grenades I found to be particularly So, yeah, I really think crossbows could just use quite a bit of a buff, and I would certainly like to see that. That one might be a bit more copium than some of the other ones on this list, though, so far. All right, next on the list, this is a big one. I think it has to happen with Act 4. If we're getting Act 4, I think we're also getting a new Ascendancy trial. I would like for this one to be based off of the Labyrinth and Azaro and all of that, but just something to compete with Trial of the Sekima, which I do think is good, and Trial of Chaos, which I think is very not good. Next on the list, and I think this one's pretty likely, is Herald's nerfed. And I think the way that they would do this is no status effects. I'm not going to type all of that in there. I think that's too long. But Heralds are like almost entirely the way that builds are clearing. You think of like Herald of Ice and an Ice Strike Monk, or the combo of Herald of Thunder and Herald of Ice together, chaining together to clear stuff out. And I think the way that they might nerf them is just simply make them not capable of inflicting other status effects. Like Herald of Thunder can inflict shock, right? But it triggers off of shocked enemies, so you use it to trigger freeze, and then you use Herald of Ice to trigger shock, and they chain back and forth together, and it's cool. I like it. It's very creative, but it's so strong that it completely dominates the state of auras. Like you basically always want to run that on pretty much any build that you can make it work on, and it's had this real suffocating effect. So I could see that getting nerfed pretty hard. All right, this one is definitely Copium. With Act 4 happening, this being called Dawn of the Hunt, Huntress obviously being added, Druid probably being added, Einhar, I just would love to see Einhar. Maybe we have an Einhar-themed Ascendancy trial even. That could be pretty cool, but just seeing Einhar actually show up and hearing his insane yelling voice would be really fun. Also, mace buffs, put this right in line with the crossbow buffs. I just think, having played through the campaign on a warrior now, that initially killed my desire to keep playing through the campaign and getting better at leveling, just playing with maces. And then it turns out that they're actually very good if you use them correctly, but it's just such a small window of skills that are actually any good. The flat added attack speed, or added attack time, but negative attack speed that's on maces is so brutal. I could see that being reduced considerably, or just a lot of mace buffs really happening, because they're in pretty dire straits right now. All right, this one's probably the biggest copium of all. Towers reworked. We have absolutely no evidence to indicate the towers are being redesigned in a significant way. It is pure copium. It is just a thing that people want. They want towers either removed or radically redesigned, and I'm just hoping for a significant redesign. The only thing that they've teased so far is just that league mechanics and bosses can spawn in towers, which bosses, that sounds great. I like the idea of towers being a boss rush mechanic. Being a thing where you go in and do Blight in a horrible tower map sounds, or Blight actually would be fine. Breach in a horrible tower map sounds awful. So that's definitely copium. I don't think it'll actually happen, but I would really like for towers to be just fundamentally different from the way they are. Maybe you just find them on the map and you just put the tablet in and that's it. There is no map to run at all. That would be cool. Another one that's maybe even bigger copium than that would be 6 portal maps. I've said a ton about this. I don't feel like I need to say any more than this, other than just simply, I don't like one death maps. I don't like the map shutting down when you die. Crafting bench, I think, is another one. That's just cheap heat, right? Crafting bench, I think, is something that doesn't invalidate the existence of ground loot. Just makes it kind of easier to take a halfway decent piece of ground loot and kind of fix it. And I think that the crafting bench, crafting stats onto pieces of gear, can coexist with the rune system as it currently is, because, the rune system just really isn't all that strong. It works with uniques, which is cool, and the crafting bench obviously doesn't, but I think the crafting bench, if it's scaled down a bit, can work pretty well. Certainly crafting in general just has felt like something that doesn't really exist in PoE 2 to this point. All right, another one that's maybe copium, but maybe not, is Spectres, Raise Spectre for minion builds, being able to actually raise monsters that you've killed up to fight on your behalf. This is something that maybe won't be in this patch. This might be saved for a future large patch, because this is something that people really, really want, Raise Spectre. But I'm just saying, Raise Spectre, why not? That would make a lot of people very happy. I think it might even make me happy. I realize that I actually like minions quite a bit more than I expected. Having played a witch all the way through the campaign now, I could definitely see myself being kind of a minion fan in PoE 2, so there is something there. All right, another one. This is a big catch-all nerf here. Let's say Tempest Bell, Astra Mentis, and Pillar of the Cage God. nerfed. That is a very long box here. But yeah, Tempest Bell, Astramentus, Pillar of the Cage God, some component of that stat stacking Monk and stat stacking Gimling Legionnaire trio, that trifecta is so insanely strong. Some component of that's going to get nerfed, and that kind of, I think, would make the whole thing sort of fall apart. I actually think Tempest Bell's kind of the biggest offender for like just killing bosses in 3 seconds. But Pillar of the Cage God is definitely like the mechanism that makes all of the stat stacking work, so it's probably that. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if all of that gets nerfed, because again, it's kind of doing the same thing that Spark is, where it's suffocating build diversity by just being so insanely strong that it makes everything else kind of unusable or undesirable by comparison. This is another one that's definitely copium, but I'm going to put it in here anyway. Swappable ascendancies. They have said that they're adding in several new ascendancies. It may be even as many as like 1 per class. Like we might actually get 3 ascendancies on all of the classes we currently have existing. I don't know, but what I do know is I would love to be able to swap ascendancies back and forth, play a Pathfinder, then without re-rolling a new character, play a Deadeye. I think actually this is one of the dumbest decisions that they made in the first round of 0.1.0. I just don't see a reason to lock in ascendancies at all, so that should happen. That's it. That should happen, period. Massive expedition buffs. I would love to see Expedition not suck, because right now it's awful if you're doing it for the intended purpose rather than just trying to farm the boss. It's really, really bad. And that's unfortunate, right? Like if you took PoE 1's version of Expedition and put it into PoE 2, it would be the strongest mechanic in the entire game. It would be the only thing anybody runs at all. So obviously, it doesn't need to be at that level, but I think somewhere in between the two would be really good, because right now it's just like Breach and Delirium, and those are the only things you do if you're actually trying to make currency. And if you want to gamble, you can do Ritual, waste your time doing Ritual gambling, and then Expedition is just bad. All right, another one that I think might go in with the Spark nerf is, if I could spell it right, Temporalis nerfed. You know, we'll see on this front. I think some of the videos of people just like blinking through maps, especially with like on like trigger builds, just like teleporting through a map and just everything dying. They're incredibly fun to watch. Obviously, you know, it's definitely like a fun concept, but their like stated design goal when they made this game was to slow down combat and make it like more impactful, slower, meaningful, methodical, whatever other synonyms for not as fast. And this is definitely faster than anything in PoE 1. So, you know, I think that's almost certainly going to get nerfed in the coming patch. All right, Turbo Copium, the absolute pinnacle of Copium. There's no way this is added in the game yet, or maybe ever. I think it'll probably be attached either to, I mean, there's really only 3 options: swords, axes, or daggers, and I feel like swords make the most sense. Lightning Strike added to the game, though. I would love that to happen. It's my favorite skill in PoE 1 these days, and that would just be fun to see. Leap Slam going on cooldown. I think that is a real possibility as a nerf for Leap Slam, because right now it is, like many of these other things, soaking up all the oxygen in the room. For leveling builds, you pretty much, whatever you're trying to level, if you want to do it as fast as possible, you have a mace so that you can Leap Slam, so that you can shield charge. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. That's like the only way to get around faster than walking. And I think that just putting a cooldown on it will kind of fix that. And I don't really want them to do that necessarily. I'd like there to just be more alternatives like spears, which may happen with the Huntress being added. But I feel like that's probably not the case. They're probably just going to nerf Leap Slam, and I think cooldown makes the most sense. All right, Mind Over Matter, that's another one. In fact, we'll just type that out as MOM nerfed. I think this has been one of the most insane defensive layers I've ever seen in PoE, being able to just stack up like 6, 8, 10,000 mana and then have, I'm blanking on the name of the flask, but the mana flask that instantly restores your mana to full. You know, being able to full heal like 6, 8, 10,000 quote unquote life over and over again is completely insane. So I would expect to see Mind Over Matter nerfed down from 100% of damage taken from mana before life down to like 50% or something. I think that would still make it a very powerful keystone, but not be just this like completely degenerate thing where you're able to, I mean, just completely hard carry your defenses through just that and then stacking it for more mana. All right, another one that I'm really hoping for, but I actually do think might happen, is League Mechanic skill trees. If I can spell this correctly, League Mechanic skill tree rework. So I think specifically what I'm talking about here is like the acquisition of skill points for the League Mechanic trees. I think having to kill the boss for every pair of points for ritual or whatever, having to kill King of the Mist 4 times, it's just like, it just is dumb. It doesn't make sense. I think that I'm really hoping, but I also do think that they'll probably budge on that point and make it so that you unlock some points in Ritual by doing Ritual for a while, and then later on you get points in Ritual from killing the boss and then killing him at higher difficulty levels. All right, here's a fan favorite and a personal favorite of mine, Blight added to the game. I kind of don't think this will happen. I do think this is like not realistic to happen because I think they would probably theme the expansion or patch around Blight being added, you know, name it something Blight themed, toxin or poison or, you know, something more along those lines. But I'm going to cope and say Blight added to the game because I would like to see that happen. All right, another one, swords. This is just simply, I would like to see swords added to the game. This would basically require them to add like a third class, probably like the duelist, but you know, it's not within, it's not outside the realm of possibility. So I would really like to see swords added to the game. That could maybe open up Lightning Strike or something. Again, I don't really think it's that likely, but they did add some key art from Ascendancy that they were kind of teasing out that has a guy hammering on a sword with a mace. So there's a lot of swords in that image. So I just say like, hey, there's definitely a possibility of some swords being added to the game, and that would mean a whole new set of sword skills to play around with. All right, and then for the last one, I'm just gonna go with a real simple one, the well. This is something that people have kind of griped about since it was first added in like the way before early access, like alpha testing and stuff. People have complained about having to click the well to refill their life and health and flasks and charms in town, and I don't blame them. Like, it doesn't really upset me, but it is just kind of a extra step that doesn't really need to exist. So this is something that's gotten a lot of complaints, been a big source of whining, and I mean, I don't blame anybody for that. Like, it is kind of a dumb thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if this got removed. All right, that's it. This was just a bit of fun. I think I feel pretty good about half of these. I feel like I'm definitely on the captain of the copium train on about the other half or so, but that's fine, right? So what do you think's coming in the patch? It's definitely a very exciting time. I'm curious to see how good or bad of a job I've done of predicting the patch. I guess we'll find out in about a day or so. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more like it. If you want to support us even further, consider becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching, and yeah, have fun waiting for the patch. Bye.